Let's move on, starting a new teaching series today. It's just a 2-weeker called Making Room for What Matters, but I think it's a super useful teaching for suburban life today. I want to start with the deeply spiritual concept of the junk drawer. We all have one. Junk drawer, maybe you call it a much more sophisticated utility drawer. You don't have a junk drawer in your house, you have a utility drawer. Could be in your kitchen, could be in your laundry room, whatever. Maybe in your garage, you have a drawer of just stuff. There's scissors, paper clips, pens, golf pencil, a key to something unidentified, but it's too important to throw away because the minute you throw it away, you know that you need it, and that whatever that important thing is hasn't been unlocked in 8 years, but you still hold on to the key. Or a charger to your BlackBerry phone from 16 years ago, or there's a gift card with $2.17 to Morton Steakhouse that's on your, thank you, Herb. This bit went much better in the first service. I'll get you what is it, a pat of butter? Is that what it is? Is that what they call a pat of butter? Those little cube? No? Anyway. All right, thank you. Thank you, whoever said yeah. All right, I'm going to move on, get out of this, into the next thing. That went awesome. The junk drawer becomes a great symbolic picture of suburbia, in that most of the stuff in the junk drawer isn't really junk, it's useful, right? We need paper clips and we need pens and scissors. It's all good, it's all useful. It's just in a pile that's a little overwhelming in the junk drawer. But it's all good stuff, and it's tough to kind of decide what stays and what goes, because in its own way, it's all useful. And in the same way, when it comes to life in 2026, our calendars can kind of become junk drawers, filled with all kinds of things that we don't really want to get rid of, but overwhelming in the way it's all kind of clumped together because everything's allowed to be there. The same with our minds. They can be junk drawers, or our souls can be junk drawers. We just keep adding things, and some are necessary, some are good, some are meaningful. Some are for work, some are for family, some are for the kids, some are for church. Some of the things that you said yes to, you did so because you just didn't realize how full the drawer was. And you got to try to sort it all out and figure out what needs to stay and what needs to go, and what's most important and what is sort of peripheral. Eventually, life just starts to feel like there's more to do than can be done, and everything seems to suffer. Now, it's not just you that feels this way if this resonates. I saw a survey from Talker Research. It's 2025, last year, survey of 2,000 parents of kids under 18, which somehow is no longer me. Crazy. 2,000 parents of kids under 18, and they were asked to identify the things that separate them, create a sense of separation from them and their families. And they would select all that applied, and at the top of the list that got the most selections, busy schedules, household chores. 43% said work commitments create distance between them and their families. 32% just cited just generic constant activities. Constant activities. And when I look at my own life now, and honestly, as we move into an empty nest or a post-school season, post-youth sports season of life, I'm going to sheepishly say I don't know whether we'll still have constant activities. If we do, it's probably a little more our fault. But most young families that I know, it is constant activities. And in the midst of those constant activities, all meant to make things better, we end up losing connection with our family. Because you can have a full calendar and an empty soul. You can have your kids in really good activities and still feel disconnected at home. You can be doing meaningful things and still feel like you're losing the center. And we know that. The problem isn't usually that terrible things have entered our world. It's not usually because of these, sin or really. Now, sometimes we let sin in and it makes things a mess, or bad habits wreck the family. That certainly happens. Really bad things happen, need to be repented and cleansed and things like that. But a lot of times it's good things that get bumped up to crowd out the most important things. Good things that move into first place. And sudden Jesus quietly gets pushed to the edge or to the bottom of the junk drawer. So this series is about asking a deeper question: what belongs at the center? Because if Jesus is going to be the anchor and not the add-on, and I believe that life is best with Jesus at the center, if he's going to be the center and not the add-on, then we have to make some tough choices, and we have to really evaluate some things. And maybe some things that have been functioning as anchors need to be downgraded to add-on, which might mean some other things that are good that have been add-ons actually need to be eliminated. Not because they're bad, but in order to protect what needs to be first. And that gets really hard because if you look at your neighbors and your friends and other parents, they're not making the tough choices, and Jesus isn't their family first and center. And so they have some things for their family that you're not going to be able to have. But guess what? According to the survey and according to real life, those things that they get to have, they're not really producing the results that it feels like they should anyway. And we all know this is true. Now, if you're newer to Polaris, we use some language. We have a few words, 3 things that are at the center of friendship with Jesus: treasure, table, towel. Treasure being the relationship with Jesus itself, table being friendship with other people on the same journey you're on with Jesus, and towel being servanthood, because Jesus was the servant of all. And you look at those 3 areas: friendship with Jesus itself, friendship with others, and servanthood. Those are the 3 pillars of following Jesus, and they have been for 2,000 years. You can call them different things. We call them treasure, table, towel. Today we're talking about treasure, the actual relationship with Jesus. Next week we'll talk more about table and towel. But today we start with Jesus. And it's a short story in Luke chapter 10, one of my favorite stories in the Bible. Jesus is he's traveling. He comes to the home of 2 sisters, Mary and Martha. Luke, one of the Gospels, one of the biographies of Jesus, Luke was one of the first followers of Jesus, and he wrote down these stories for us. And Luke 10 says this: As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations. These words matter in this story. Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me." "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, indeed, only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken from her." Now we have to be careful in this story because it's easy to turn Martha into the villain, like the bad girl of the story. She's the one that didn't get it right. But the truth is that Martha's not the villain. Martha's the mirror. She's the mirror for us in 2026 to see ourselves. I hope you can relate with Martha. I think we can all relate with her. She's not doing something obviously terrible. She's not ruining her life. She's not rebelling against Jesus. She's not doing something selfish or ignoring everyone. Martha's serving. She's trying to do a good thing. You don't just casually there's this traveling rabbi and his disciples. People say he's the Messiah. He's coming to your house. You don't just, hey, there's some chips in the pantry and guac in the fridge, knock yourself out. Like you want things to be perfect for this opportunity in your house. And that's also, Middle East culture today and 2,000 years ago, hospitality is huge. A lot of our distraction doesn't come from malicious intentions. It comes from good things that have gotten out of order a little bit. Luke says Martha was distracted by all the preparations. Distracted, that word matters, distracted. Distraction, what happens when good things pull your attention away from the one thing that gives all the other things their proper place. That's when we get distracted. That's why Martha is such a good mirror for us in 2026. We can be doing good things. And then while we're doing good things, we're distracted from the best thing. You can be serving people and still be distracted. You can be giving your kids the best opportunities and still be distracted from what's most important. You can be making dinner for Jesus and still miss being with Jesus. Resonates, doesn't it? These ancient stories, 2,000 years old, and yet so relevant to everyday life. In this story, the distraction manifests itself. The first symptom is worry, and Jesus just names it. Martha's worried. Martha, you're worried about many things. Worry shows up when things start to feel equally important. And then we start to see ourselves as essential in the equation. And so we start to worry. We lose sight of all that really matters, and things start to take on equal significance in life, and then we start to worry. And then worry tends to lead to frustration because we don't like being worried, and magnifies the things that we think are important and things that aren't. And we start comparing ourselves to other people. We start to feel like we're doing too much. We get frustrated. We're carrying too much. They're not carrying their fair share. We start keeping score, right? She's keeping score. My sister's in there doing that. Well, I'm doing that. Start to get frustrated. And then we get bitter. We start getting angry and we start lashing out, and we probably start controlling a little bit because we're trying to take the reins and get things steered back. Think about the control in this story. Martha starts bossing God around. Jesus, tell my sister. Worry tries to take control because frustration leads to bitterness, and it just gets a mess, all because things get distracted. We lose sight of what is best. And we start focusing on other good things to the expense of and exclusion of what is best. Now notice that it's important to see how Jesus responds. He doesn't shame Martha. He says her name twice. Martha, Martha. It's not like, you back off, woman. It's gentle, Martha. And then he calls it out like that's merciful. That's the voice of someone trying to keep her attention, get her attention without crushing her spirit. That's Jesus. And he names what's happening in her soul. You are worried and upset about many things. It's It's not condemnation, it's clarity. It's Jesus naming it. How many times do I need Jesus to just, Alex, you are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. How often do I need to hear Jesus say that to me? Like I'm just stressed out about all kinds of stuff. And if I could just hear, Alex, you are worried and upset about many things, and only one thing is needed. That's one where you look at the eternal perspective that God sees. And just hear yourself talk in the midst of an eternal perspective in an ever-expanding universe that goes on for an eternity. It's just, Alex, the lawn, I know it's important. I know that your garage is getting cluttered after all the work you just put into cleaning it up, but you're worried about many things. Only one thing really matters. That loving and gentle adjustment from Jesus. And he looks at Martha and just says, why don't you come back to the center? Your sister's figured it out. That's not going to be taken from her. Come back to the center. It reminds me of Matthew 11. There's this moment in Matthew 11 when Jesus says, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Jesus is branding his way of life here, and he's kind of saying, I'm willing to reorder your life towards something more manageable. All that matters when it comes to managing our life is getting it right with God. I mean, that it's what God says is right is all that really matters when it comes to managing life. And Jesus says that we don't have to kill ourselves in order to get life right. We don't have to be overwhelmed to get life right. And that's a game changer, because the answer to, man, there is more to do than I can ever get done, the answer is not go get a better calendar and then you can schedule more stuff. And it's not go download better productivity software, got to be more productive. Then you can get more done in a day. And the answer is not, well, try harder to be more spiritual. Trying harder may just make you more exhausted. The answer, the invitation from Jesus is what? Come to me. Come to me. Come to Jesus with what is heavy. Come to Jesus with the worry, with the frustration, with the bitterness, the family pressure, the kids' schedules, the kids' future, the work stress. And the answer for your kids is not that they do more to the expense of their friendship with Jesus. It's that they know to go to Jesus first. Come to Jesus with the house, the bills, the decisions, the fear that if you stop working, everything will fall apart. Jesus isn't standing over exhausted people with a clipboard. He's inviting exhausted people to come closer. And some of us need to hear that clearly. Jesus is not one more burden for already overburdened people. He's not the add-on that makes your life heavier. Jesus is the center that makes the rest of life find its proper place. And when that gets out of order, things get rough. So today, the response is simple. Take your next step toward the feet of Jesus. Take your next step toward the feet of Jesus. Now, maybe for some of you, that's a first step. Saying yes to Jesus. In an ancient Christian culture, there was a moment where you cross the line of faith. And maybe for some of you, you look and you don't have that moment when you actually said yes to Jesus. And for the ancient Christians, when the movement started, they would say yes, they would confess their faith, and they would get baptized. That was how you said yes to Jesus. And if you look, when it comes to, there's a world of stuff out there, and the first place to start is the feet of Jesus as the center, and you don't even know if you've said yes to Jesus, start there. Now I'm going to give you a little tool that you could use for that, and it might sound a little silly, but if you go to our app and you go to the treasure button, you'll see Say Yes to Jesus. Now, I'm not saying the new way to become a Christian is to go to the app. The Holy Spirit changed to a technology-centered thing. I'm not saying that, it's a tool. If it's helpful, if you go to the app and you hit Say Yes to Jesus, it'll ping me, you submit a form, it'll go to me, and I can reach out and talk with you and help you through it. I'm the only one that sees it. And so if you're like, yeah, don't know if I'm ready yet, and you decide on Tuesday, you know what, I need to say yes to Jesus, I need to learn more about baptism, just go to the app and hit the treasure button. Now, obviously, if you see me in the lobby, and obviously I'll stop whatever and we'll have the conversation. But if it's helpful, go to the app, go to the treasure section or First Steps, and say yes to Jesus, and I'd love to follow up with you with that. Another thing, ancient Christian culture, was the return to Jesus, like the rededication. And it was this moment when you'd say, called repentance as well, you know what, I've been far. I used to be close, I've been far, I need to get back. Jesus, I confess to you that I've been far and I'm all in, and I want to be back at the center, back at your feet, back putting you first. Again, if it's helpful, you can go to the treasure section. You'll see rededicate. I want to rededicate my life to Jesus. I'm not saying that you got to go to the app to get right with Jesus, but if it's helpful, it'll ping me. I'll reach out to you, can help you if you need help. But there's nothing complicated about it. It's just a heart thing, and you just, you tell Jesus, I've been far away from you. I need your forgiveness. I need your mercy. I want to make you first. But maybe that's a next step for you. Then for some of you, it might be like building time. You need to build time more than just Sunday morning to anchor yourself to the voice of Jesus. Let me give you my suggestion. Jesus speaks first and foremost through his word. If you are not connected with the life and teachings of Jesus through the scriptures, it's going to be really hard for you to grow spiritually. It just is. Now, I've said Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, those are the Gospels. Those are the biographies of Jesus. Those are the life and teachings of Jesus. You need to have connection with them. And whether it's audio Bible or written Bible, I want to suggest that you take some time most days, not every day, and I'm not talking about an hour and a half every day, P90X stuff. I'm talking about small doses. Chapter or two of the Bible most days of the week, and before long you will have read the whole gospel, all 4 Gospels. You'll be familiar with the life and teachings of Jesus. 4 or 5 days a week, 15 minutes a day. If you want a great Bible to help, if you go to the app and go to Treasure, you'll see my recommended Bible linked to Amazon. You can take one of the Bibles in the pews or in the chair under the chairs, but the Bible that I recommend from Amazon has like study helps with it. It's what I used when I was growing up, and just gives a lot of extra information to help you understand what you're reading. But just read the Gospels, couple chapters a day, most days of the week. And then after you read, you say, what are you saying, God? What are you saying, Jesus, through this? And what am I going to do? How should I respond to this? That gives Jesus the space in your life to talk with you. And it gives you a natural anchor. The scriptures are powerful. The words and the teachings of Jesus, the examples of Jesus are powerful. And they will produce growth in your life if you center your heart around them. It's tough to be at the feet of Jesus if you're far from the words and teachings of Jesus in Scripture. If I could say anything, anchor yourself in the Gospels of Jesus. And then one final thing for my suburban Friends, if you make Jesus the anchor, it's going to mean you push some anchors to add-on status, and that probably is going to mean that you got to get rid of a few things to keep Jesus at the center. And those can be tough decisions to make, but they're important decisions to make. You might have to look at the calendar and say, you know what? I like these activities and I'm going to protect them. I like these activities, but these ones need to go. And again, this is hard, especially when it comes to kids and things where you're that, because those families get to do that stuff. Their kids get to do that stuff. They get to be in 4 different sports and 6 different activities and working with these coaches and instructors and whatever, so that they can be the best in the dance club, in the thing, in the get the lead with the been there, done that. And if you don't protect it, and you know where I mean, we were all out baseball family, and we did a lot. I mean, this is my first Father's Day at Polaris in like 9 years. Because the baseball thing's done. We kept it to one travel sport, but you're going to have to make some decisions that you're not going to do everything that everybody else. But remember the survey. Those things that people fill their lives with out there, they're not doing the things that they think they're supposed to do. Those things are not coming through, bringing the kind of anchor that Jesus can bring for you and for your kids. And so maybe that's the next thing, is to figure out what stays and what goes. All right, I'm going to invite the band back up. We're going to close with this hymn. This hymn is one of my favorite songs ever. And like I say every Bible story is my favorite story. I don't say that about songs. Most of them I don't like. This hymn is an oldie, but it is everything you want in something that declares, Jesus, be my center, be my guide, be my vision. And with this song, I'm hopeful that you will ask God to be your vision through which you see the world and make decisions about what stays and what goes, because we desperately need that.